Hey everybody, this is Mark with Circle of Dark Mother. Today, the topic of our video is Ceridwen calling, and I'll talk a little bit about who Ceridwen is and why she's calling. So first, let's talk about Wales, the country that is the westernmost part of Britain. Even though my primary spiritual practice is Gnostic Kabbalah and focused on Lilith, my ancestry is primarily Welsh. I'm about 60% Welsh, with my paternal grandparents both coming from Wales. And then I have Welsh on my paternal grandmother's side and some on my mother's side. I've spent some time reading the myths and legends of Wales and studied the Celtic Welsh Druid and witch paths. I haven't had any great call to any of the Welsh deities, although I have had a great resonance with the Welsh horse goddess Rhiannon, mostly because of the song by Fleetwood Mac that was put into my consciousness when I was fairly young. Surprisingly, at least at first for me, the goddess Cerridwen has been calling me lately. As I've dug into her mythology and character, the call has been less surprising. There's actually a good reason for me to explore her and practice with her. So, a note about Welsh myth. There are several existing Welsh texts of mythology, including the Book of Taliesin, the Book of Aneurin, the Red Book of Hyrgest, and the most notable, the Mabinogion. Unfortunately, all of these texts were written down between 1200 and 1500 CE. The Celtic Welsh tradition were all oral and not dedicated to paper until well after Christianity had taken root in the British Isles. This is unfortunate because even though we have the texts, they are written, interpreted, and described through a post-pagan Christian lens, leaving a lot of questions on what the original belief and practice contained. So, who's Ceridwen? Ceridwen is described as a witch and magic user in the texts that survive, although many scholars and mystics believe that she was actually a goddess in the Welsh pantheon. The surviving myth about her describes how she had a son that was so ugly that he could not be accepted by anyone. So Ceridwen decided to do something to help him. She took her cauldron and brewed a potion with water and herbs that would make him the smartest and most wise person in the world. The potion unfortunately took a year and a day to prepare. Because of the long wait time and the fact the potion needed to continuously boil and be stirred, she hired two people to tend it. One was an old blind man who stirred the potion, and the other was a young man, really a boy, who kept the kindling lit. The potion would produce only 3 drops of magic for this ultimate intelligence, but the rest would turn to a deadly poison. Right at the end, Ceridwen fell asleep just as the brew completes. The young man tending the fire really realizes the cauldron is about to explode, so he pushes Ceridwen's son out of the way, hoping to save him from the poison, which he does. However, the 3 drops of magic fall on the young man, and he gains the magic of intelligence and wisdom. Knowing Ceridwen is going to be upset, he flees. When the witch awakens, she finds out what happened and begins to chase the now magical youth. He changes from one animal form into another. She takes chase, changing into a predator to match his form. In his last form, he turns into a seed of grain on the floor. Ceridwen turns into a hen and eats all the grain. After returning to human form, Ceridwen realizes that she is pregnant. Instead of terminating the pregnancy, she decides to give birth and to kill the young man after he is reborn. Something over time changes, and after she gives birth to him, her hate turns to love and she is unable to destroy him. He is reborn as the famous Welsh bard Taliesin. In this story, it appears that Ceridwen is a talented witch, but at the same time human. However, many scholars and practitioners do not believe this is the base of Ceridwen's identity. It is said that Ceridwen is part of the Anwen, which is really the magic that gives life and transforms all creation. It's also the root of the Celtic or the Welsh Celtic afterlife. Some mentions even hint that Ceridwen only has a human form when she is in the midst of the Anwen, and at other times she continually transforms between spirits of land, air, and water. One of the most interesting beliefs is Ceridwen may be the black sow with no tail. Pigs were seen as gifts from the gods and incredibly spiritual beings. One type of pig was seen as a divine manifestation, and this was the black sow with no tail. This pig led Taliesin in a different story to find something he was seeking, giving another reason that Ceridwen may be this identity. What all of this points to is that Ceridwen was a goddess of transformation and rebirth, her cauldron being the gateway between life, death, and the in-between. And thus, she is the spirit or guide of journeys through the shadow work into evolution. So why would she be calling? Even though at first I wasn't sure why Ceridwen was calling, I now know why. Just like Lilith, Ceridwen is a force of transformation and change. No deity will ever replace Lilith in my practice. And I don't believe, that Ceridwen will be a long-term relationship or working for me. But there's something about the transformation of my ancestry and maybe this incarnation that I need to listen to. Only time will tell what she has to say, but I'm sure it'll be an interesting journey. Thank you. Hopefully you find that helpful.